Fear and uncertainty have become the norm in the quiet village of Springview, Pettit Valley. The chirping of the birds and the usual hum of daily life are now overshadowed by an unsettling silence. Residents live in constant dread, their lives disrupted by the chilling echoes of a declaration of an all-out gang war. The catalyst of this fear? The shooting death of Glenroy Malick Charles, a member of Jamaat al-Muslimin and a reputed gang leader. The news of his death spread like wildfire, stoking the flames of tension and fear. Vows to avenge Charles's death were made openly in broad daylight by several residents believed to be his associates. These vows were not empty threats made behind closed doors, but chilling promises voiced in the presence of policemen and soldiers. The once tranquil Springview has been transformed into a village on edge, awaiting the inevitable aftershocks of Charles's death. On a fateful Sunday, the village lost its infamous resident, reputed gang leader, Glenroy Charles. This wasn't just an ordinary day in the quiet village of Springview, Pettit Valley. The air was thick with tension and uncertainty, as if foretelling the impending doom. Glenroy Charles, also known as Malick, was not your average citizen. He was a member of the controversial group Jamaat al-Muslimin and had a reputation that preceded him wherever he went. Charles's life was a complex tapestry of power, fear, and influence. His role as a gang leader was not just a title, but an embodiment of the life he lived. But on this Sunday, his reign came to an abrupt end. Charles was stalked, targeted, and gunned down in cold blood. The details are as chilling as they are shocking. The brazen act of violence was a clear message to all who dared to challenge the status quo. The aftermath of Charles's death was equally unsettling. Open vows of revenge echoed through the village, made by his associates, in the presence of law enforcement officers. The audacity of these declarations underscored the depth of loyalty Charles commanded and the extent of lawlessness he represented. His death was not just an end, but the beginning of a new wave of violence that threatened to engulf the entire community. In less than 3 hours, the first act of retribution was carried out. The ripple effect of Charles's death was immediate and brutal. In the wake of tragedy, 26-year-old Marlon "Tall Paul" Scott became another casualty of this escalating conflict. Known in the neighborhood, Scott was gunned down in broad daylight, a heart-rending spectacle that unfolded right in front of his mother's eyes. This chilling act of violence sent shockwaves through the community, the echoes of gunfire marking a grim reminder of the escalating tension. But the bloodshed didn't quell the fury of Charles' associates. Scott, though suspected of stalking Charles, was not his killer. The thirst for retribution remained unquenched, the undercurrent of dissatisfaction palpable among the gang members. The threat of violence hung heavily in the streets, a ticking time bomb waiting to detonate. The police, armed with intelligence on gang activities, had foreseen this chilling aftermath. They had anticipated the reprisals, the cycle of violence that would be set in motion following the murder of Glenroy Charles, also known as Abdul Malick. Yet despite their foresight, they were powerless to stem the tide of retribution, a stark testament to the power and reach of the gang. The repercussions of Charles's death continue to haunt the residents of Springview, with the fear of more violence looming in the air. The echoes of this tragedy continue to reverberate, a grim reminder of the devastating aftermath and the repercussions yet to come. The impact of these events on the community is profound and far-reaching. In the tranquil village of Springview, the death of Glenroy Charles, known as Malick, has triggered a seismic shift. The once serene streets are now fraught with heightened fear and palpable uncertainty. The villagers who once enjoyed a peaceful existence find themselves in the crossfire of an escalating gang war. The echoes of Malick's demise reverberate through the community, transforming everyday life into a constant state of vigilance. Children no longer play freely in the streets, and adults look over their shoulders, their hearts pounding with the dread of the unknown. The very air seems heavier, filled with the collective anxiety of a community under siege. Efforts to maintain normalcy are overshadowed by the looming threat of violence, a grim reminder of the cost of gang-related conflicts. The legacy of Glenroy Charles's life and death continues to cast a long shadow over Springview, a village held hostage by fear and uncertainty.